Don't forget to smile. Hey, welcome to another edition of Tiger Talks. We're live here in studio with Rodney Lawson. We got Andrew
Guys.
on engineer and Steve on engineer. These guys are making the magic happen behind the scenes. So glad to have you, Rodney. What's going on, man? Why don't you
Nope.
tell me what's been shaking for you lately?
Just been trying to work some roofs out and get the roofs going, and we've actually done 2 replacements this week.
2 replacements. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
And they've been good ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah, up in Grapevine and
There was one in Grapevine and one in Forney.
Rodney, do you think we should tell the folks about what happened at the Rangers game the other night when you took me and you took Zach Cooper from the Cleveland market and you took us out to the Rangers game?
Yes.
You think we should tell folks what happened there?
Sure.
Okay, well, tell them what happened.
So went to eat at Blue Goose.
That was
and
good.
And then had a
Tacos?
great time. Yeah, Blue Goose is one of my favorite places to go when I'm going to the Ranger game, and we just had a really good time. Reese joined us a little bit late, but he got there, and then we went and sat.
We talking about Reese Lawson,
Yes,
the chosen one,
yeah, the chosen one.
the beautiful man.
Oh yes, yes.
All right, so Reese was there, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. We just went to the game, and they actually fell behind. Probably their best pitcher, I think, Nathan Eovaldi was pitching.
Boy, he did not look like their best pitcher that night.
No, he gave up 3 home runs, and they got behind really quick. But lo and behold, they came back in 10 and won it 7-6, and it was their only win of the series, which is not good for the team, but you know. Hopefully they can. There's still time. Maybe they can turn it around. Who knows? Maybe they can go on a 25-12 or 15 run, or maybe they can go on a 30-10 run. But it's going to be unlikely. But
So what kind of odds are you giving the Rangers to even make it to the postseason?
to make it to the postseason, I would say right now they probably got about a 10 or 15% chance.
That's not very good, Rodney.
Yeah, their offense is just not good this year.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, the night that you took us, and that was a really good night because they actually, well, I won't tell everybody, but
No, it's fine.
Seager hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's about all I can remember that was hitting that night.
Well, you know, so they did have some timely hitting that night, and the key part.
Oh, the
that
kid, Wyatt, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Wyatt.
They just don't have enough timely hitting.
Right.
And so guys can get on base, and then they leave them on base, and they don't score. So it just kind of, I think they were betting on some people that didn't come through. They signed one guy and were paying him $37 million over 2 years, Jock
Yeah.
Peterson,
Yeah,
and
that
he
dude.
just has not hit.
No.
And last year he hit for 270, and this year he's half of that. And so, you know, when you don't hit and when you don't have people in position to move a runner around, or to, if a runner's in scoring position, to get him home, you're going to suffer. And the pitching has been, it's unfortunate because this is the best pitching that the Rangers have ever had. In 1983, they had a similar group, but not even that group, which I believe was led by Charlie Huff and Rick Honeycutt.
Boy, those
They
are some
couldn't even-
throwback names right
Yeah,
there.
they couldn't even keep up. You're pulling me off the cuff there, but they couldn't even keep up with the current group that's pitching. This
Yeah.
current group has the best ERA in the league, and the relief, both the starters and the relief, are pitching very well. You know, even in the 2023 World Series run, the relief was suspect at times.
Yeah,
And in
I
fact,
remember that.
they came out of Seattle, and if they had not won the last game, I believe it was the last game, it was either the Friday game or the Sunday game 2 years ago, they may not have gotten in the playoffs. And then they went on a tear and didn't lose a game. They went 13-0 on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Well,
know,
the
the
bats
odds
came
of that.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bats were awesome.
Well, the bats were there that year, but the pitching solidified. for a month-long run, and it was unbelievable.
Well, let's get down to business, Rodney.
All right.
So,
Yep.
like the Rangers, there are seasons in the life of a roofing contractor
Yeah.
where the bats ain't hitting. Like things aren't working, right?
Yeah.
And you go through these rough stretches. So, August hasn't been too bad for you, but what's business been like lately?
So it has been slower this year, and I'm addressing that. It's funny because I think that in some of the issues that you've got to find a balance between delegation.
Right.
And I have myself, my wife, and my daughter. My daughter runs the office, and then my wife is coming back on board from having kind of had major duties with the diner, and we talked about that last time. But and then my son sells, and then we have another guy that sells, Lee. He sells, and between the two of them and myself, then we had to produce the sales. And so things have been a little bit slower this year. We didn't get as much hail in our particular area as some of the other spots in the Metroplex got.
Yeah.
I think we've had more hail in the state of Texas this year than we have had in some time.
So much hail.
Yeah.
And yet the industry is changing quite a bit because Texas, every shingle manufacturer wants to own the state of Texas. I mean, they're looking for market penetration, market share in Texas. And I think right now GAF owns the market.
I would agree with that.
I believe that's true. And everyone else is coming along, and there are several that are making strides. But right now, what's changing in the market is the insurance policies.
Yes.
And have been, or you are now, I'm not sure if you've kept your license active, but you're a licensed insurance agent, insurance adjuster. And so you know how this game is played. What's your hot take on insurance policies changing right now?
So they're changing very rapidly. Unfortunately, and this is going to be a pretty rather controversial maybe in some lights. I have a lot of colleagues that are agents, and I think the ones that refer me and that I talk to really have a active conversation with their homeowners on a yearly basis, maybe even sometimes on a every 6 month basis.
I mean, that's the ethical thing to do, right? If I'm an insurance agent and I care about my customers, my job is to make sure that they understand the benefits of their policy and what's changing. They don't have a lot of room to, say how the policy is going to work out for them. It's kind of forced on them. But, the ethical insurance agents are having conversations. Hey, your deductible is changing from 1% to 2%. It's going from 2% to 5%. We're changing the policy. We're accelerating to, the good ones are having that conversation. But, Rodney, there's a lot of insurance policies out there where they don't even talk to their agent.
The agent don't. And, and unfortunately, the other part to that, the agents aren't. The agents, it's just like anything else in sales. It's like any other sales industry, whether it be selling cars, whether it be selling real estate, whether it be selling, communication is the key.
Yeah.
And I watch people that succeed, that are using marketing online. I'm trying to get better at that myself.
You're doing a good job.
But there are people that are not communicating, this is what's going to happen, and they entrust that they will read their mail, and I don't read my own mail, and I don't read my mail half the time,
right?
And a lot of people just don't do that.
Yeah.
And the problem is, you get homeowners, and I had a homeowner, a family member, that the adjuster bore the bad news, and he hates those conversations. He told me, he's like, Rodney, I don't want to have these conversations.
Well, it shouldn't be the adjuster breaking the news to you that your policy's changed. Like, that seems unethical to me. I'm surprised that there aren't more complaints to the Texas Department of Insurance about what's going on with the policies.
I don't know that they would be able to do anything. It's a pretty weak it's a pretty weak regulatory agency.
Well, you're not going to make any friends at the state level talking like that, right?
It is. I mean, I'm being honest and being transparent, but they're not going to. You could call and complain, but they're not going to make a difference. But going back to the agents, not only is it agents, but there's a lot of carriers, and I won't mention the names. You can figure them out because they're
Give us some clues.
Well, like one has an emu, and
An emu.
and one only insure what you need. I mean,
Okay.
obviously I'm picking out some, but they like to
Those
move
are the
it
worst
online.
offenders.
Yeah, they like to move it online. And so when you move it online,
What do you mean move it online? Like away from a local agent?
yeah, move it out of the hands of a local agent.
So move it to a 1-800 number, and you got to download an app. And
So that just you're not going to get any communication when you have it online.
yeah,
And sure, people are searching for the cheapest price. And I've always said, make the policies. You could still offer a 1% deductible. Put it out there. It's like, I hate to use this because I have a dear friend that owns a car dealership, but it's like buying cars. You can go out there and get the top level. I know my GM line's better than I do my other lines, but you can go out there and get a Denali,
right.
a GMC Yukon Denali. You're going to pay for it,
Right.
and people will.
Right.
And the majority of your people would still pay for the cheaper policy, and you need to understand the ramifications as we move forward in the insurance world with what they're covering and not covering,
So
which is less.
let's do
and
this.
less.
Why don't you look in that camera right
Okay.
there, and let's just take a minute. Rodney, why don't you give us your top 3 tips for a homeowner buying insurance in the state of Texas, where they're going to get hailed on average once every 7 years and have their roof replaced? What are your top 3 tips? Just look in the camera and tell folks.
You need to know what the replacement cost coverage, the years that it will cover you replacement cost wise.
Okay.
You need to know what your costs are going to be, what your deductible is going to be, and how long that deductible, when it can change. Will it change typically at the end of the commitment? And then you need to know the different, you need to know your declarations, and I think you need to know as I said, the deductible. But the biggest thing I think you need to know also is the ACV versus the replacement cost. ACV is actual cash value. There are policies. There was one carrier, I was with them for over 20 years, where when I bought my house in 2017, I had a 15-year replacement cost value coverage.
Okay.
It dropped to 12 by 2019, and then a year ago it dropped down to 8 years.
Wow.
And then what that means is once the replacement cost coverage is over, then it starts, you lose not only your deductible, and remember your deductible goes up as your house value goes up and what they're insuring it for. So your deductible is based on what they're insuring it for. So if you have a $350,000 home and your deductible is 1%, it's $3,500. If it's 2%, it's $7,000, and that goes up every year because they add more value to your house. And so what was $350,000 last year, maybe $400,000 or $370,000 this year. Well, your deductible's gone up. And if once you reach the end of that replacement cost value, then it's the actual cash value. So if you have a $350,000 home with a 2% deductible, and you're at the end of that 8 years with this carrier that I was with, if you're at the end of that 8 years, you have a $7,000 deductible. And so let's say my house was $25,000 to replace, and I lost that $7,000, that's $18,000.
Right.
And then they did a 40%, or I'm going to say for simple math, 50%. At that $18,000 is $9,000, so I'm only getting $9,000, and you don't get the remaining $9,000 if it's an ACV policy.
Man, that is crazy.
So you just ate $16,000, and we can't, unfortunately, as a roofing company, if I want to stay in business, I can't roof a house that's $25,000 to roof for $9,000. It won't even cover my material costs.
All right, so let's play this all the way out to the end. And by the way, great tips. Great tips there. So let's say I have a $30,000 roof, but I'm losing $16,000.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do?
So you have 2 options, or 2 or 3 options. You can pay cash for the difference. And then as you are also, the other options are, and it's becoming more and more frequent, is you can finance that.
Yeah.
And that to me is a very good option. If you go into financing, and Tiger Roofing has financing options, I highly recommend you keep it under 10 years.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because we're in the state of Texas. And like I just said, like we started talking early before we started getting into the insurance side, is that hail comes at a frequent pace especially in North Texas. Pete Delkus, again, was talking about it last night about the heat island around DFW. And he was talking about in the last 20 years, I think it was last 20 years, we've added 829 square miles of concrete in Dallas-Fort Worth.
A lot of heat.
And that absorbs the heat. So like last night, he was talking, this is a great deal to kind of get back. It sounds like I'm chasing a rabbit, but I'm really not. What happens is he was talking about how our summers have been cooler on average in the month of August, because I don't think we've had any 100-degree days, or if we have, we've had less than 5, I think.
Sure.
Plus, we had a couple in some areas, like we got almost 3 inches of rain 2 days ago, and that was great for us. It greened up everything. In fact, I've got a fully green yard again. But he was talking about how while the summers have been cooler, the mornings have been warmer.
Yeah. Because
there's so much concrete that's
noticed.
absorbing it, and it's slower to get out.
Sure.
And so it causes the bottom to stay higher than what had been happening 20 years ago. So he was showing a chart how I think it was 74 degrees was our normal a few years ago, and now or maybe it was 73 and now it's 74. And we just don't realize what a degree and a half makes a difference, but it makes all the difference in the world. And so it causes a huge heat island. And that's why North Texas is a huge mecca for hailstorms.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And they're getting larger. They're getting more intense.
I'm going to think like a homeowner here. All right.
Okay.
So I got a $30,000 roof, and I want it done right.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been depreciated, ACV'd. I'm missing over 50% of the money I need for my insurance policy.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at financing $14,000, $15,000. And I know that it's going to hail again at some point. You know, it may be next spring, or it may be 7 springs from now, but at some point it's going to hail again. You know, the temptation for me as a homeowner is like, well, it's not leaking. Why don't I just let it sit? Not do anything about it. What's the negative ramifications about that?
So the negative ramifications about that can be a couple things. The ice can cause, we have a couple weeks of ice usually every year. That ice can cause the penetration to fracture and start to crack. And then you have leaks when the heavy rains come in our spring. You know, we have probably some of our heaviest rains in the months from March to early May. We'll get torrential downpours. And then we'll get them again late October, early November, when every time when the atmosphere is changing and the weather is sinking back to that 70 to 85, maybe 60s, mid to high 60s. And so what happens is you can get some fracturing when ice is on it, or even when heat's on it. I've seen heat really take its toll. We don't think about it, but the excessive heat really takes its toll on shingles as well, and it causes them to accelerate their lifespan. And so, you know, manufacturers had 30-year warranties at one time. You don't see that anymore. It's called limited lifetime, and there's a lot of loopholes through that. And I think shingles have gotten better since I've been in it, since 2008. But I also think that shingles have you're asking for them. It's an asphalt shingle. And I always use this analogy with people. Think about if you go on asphalt roads. If you go on asphalt roads after so many years, they start having little bumps. They start having little issues, maybe some potholes or whatever. And when you have the asphalt road, you're asking for that asphalt to withstand conditions that we don't realize are 30 years in the making. And so, yeah, a laminate, I don't care how good the laminate is, and I always tell people this, you're going to get you're going to have to replace your roof sooner than later. Now, when is that sooner than later? I think there are certain situations where you can get 10 to 15, maybe 20 years out of a roof if you put the right material, if you really use the right material. And I think there's different trim levels. Most companies have several different trim levels in their asphalt lines. Some of them have streamlined them down to just a few, but most of them have several different trim lines. And part of that is not only for color variation, but it's also for thickness, and it's also for the durability. And I just try to use shingles that have the best durability, and I try to use shingles that will last, give the most bang for the buck.
Yeah. Okay. So,
real quick on the
go ahead.
Financing, I would highly recommend that a person not extend their financing past 5 or 10 years.
Why is
that?
I
say that because unless you just want to have a continuous payment, I think that because of our frequency of hailstorms, that if you extend it past 5 or 10 years, you run the risk of having a double payment or being upside down on your roof.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want that for anybody.
Yeah. You talking about shingles just makes me wonder, what's the incentive for the shingle manufacturer to make a shingle that withstands storms? I mean, if I make money selling shingles, why would I want my shingles to not wear out?
I think, there's some validity to, how good do you want them to be? But I also think that there is some validity to the fact that you want to partner with manufacturers that are looking out for the best there is and putting the quality out there. Mm-hmm. And I think quality will get you more business faster than putting a shingle out that's only going to last 5 to 6 years. And
yeah. I have this theory about the Dallas-Fort Worth market, and that is, I traveled around with, one of the big manufacturers for a while and did a lot of their keynotes. And people in the North, contractors in the North, they are very concerned about shingle quality, installation, systems, very concerned about the labor, that's installing the roofs. And folks in the South, they talk about it, but you put a southern roofer up against a northern roofer, and the northern roofer is going to install that roof at a I'm just saying, I'm in the South, I'm from Texas, but a northern roofer is going to install that roof at a much higher quality level. Or like our friend Eric Richardson, the Southern California surfer who disguises himself as a roofing contractor, but he's really a surfer. You're out in California, you're going to install that roof at a high level. In Texas, by the time they figure out that you didn't install the roof right, it's already hailed on it twice.
Yep.
And they've already needed to replace that roof twice. Anything that could leak just, is, if it wasn't flashed right or it wasn't installed right, the asphalt melts in and gives you a couple years of protection anyway.
Yeah.
So if I'm a shingle manufacturer, why wouldn't I have Texas shingles as opposed to Minnesota shingles? Or New York shingles, or California shingles? The shingles are the same all across the United States.
Yes, they are. So I'm going to answer something before that you were saying in that versus the southern shingle versus or the southern contractor versus the northern
You like
contractor.
that, right? I did that just to
Because
agitate
I've
people.
worked in both, but like yesterday, I was driving in. I'd gone out to my house, and I was driving back to my job site in Forney, and I was coming back in. They're doing another roof right by an additional property that I own, and they are what looked like, I could be very wrong, but it looked like they were just laying over on the roof.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to Reese at the time. He's like, "Dad, take a picture," and I'm like, "Nope, I'm not going to do it." And I used to do those kind of things early, and a lot of people used to do them. Here's what I had to do: is
You're
I
talking
had to,
about you used to do what things like call out shoddy
yeah, well,
workmanship?
not really. Well, I don't know. Call out. I may not name the contractor, but say, "Here we go again."
Yeah.
But and I'm saying it now on this, and people are going to see this, and I'm not. But I've just gotten to the point now to where two things: I have to trust God that He's going to open doors and provide the work for me, and then I have to trust, and people have to know. And I've had two people, or actually three people this week, look at me and go, "Rodney, I trust you, and that's why I called you." And that is so huge in our market and in our deal. There's over 15, we talked about this, I think, last time, but there's over 15,000 roofers in DFW alone. And I have to understand that not everybody's going to do, and there's this push for a license, and I'm actually not on the fence. I'm not in the group for a license. And the reason I'm not is because if you're going to make us get a license, you need to make the carriers follow a set of rules too. And right now, there's no rules. And Texas is kind of, I think you've called it and others have called it the wild, wild west. And maybe it is. And I think that people should have a standard. I think there should be a standard in our market and in our state. And I think there should be a license. But I also think there should be a standard on both sides, on all sides, the contractor, the carrier, and like we were talking about earlier with the, I think agents should, if you have an agent, I think every agent should have to document that they've tried to make contact with their homeowner and offer the renewal, and here's what's changing. And I also think that homeowners need to be responsible and read their policies and know what's changing and call their agent up. And if you have that 1-800 number, I highly suggest that you move away from that. Yeah, it might cost you a few more dollars in the policy terms by going to an agent.
Yeah.
But I have multitudes of agents that I can recommend to anyone because they're good, solid agents and they look after their homeowners. And I can't tell you enough about them. And that's a shout out to all those agents that I work with very closely. They're very good. But going back to what you were saying about the manufacturers, they are also responsible for making a quality shingle. And I think that I think people need to understand that when that contractor knocks on your door, he has to offer you a quality product. Now, some would say, well, Rodney, that's why we need a license, because some of them don't. And you're right. You're right. But at the same time, I shouldn't have to go out with XYZ insurance carrier and it's 12 hits on on 5 different sides if the house is really cut up. And then I go out with ABC insurance carrier and he wants 6 hits on one side and 6 hits on the other side. And then, oh, by the way, in 2019, when they passed the deductible law, and we had a deductible law, and today in 2025, there's only one carrier that enforces it. And I just did a roof yesterday with that carrier. And that guy will get not only the first check, but he will get the deductible check. And the others, you can tell them, I've got both the first check and the deductible check. They don't care. And that's where we're at is that the contractors get all the bad news. The only time you hear something is when a contractor's stolen money and taking checks. And by the way, as a tip to that, not only to the insurance carrier, another homeowner tip, I took money yesterday. The lady tried to give it to me yesterday morning, and then she tried to give it to me again at lunch. And I said, we haven't finished the job yet. When we finish tonight, you and I will sit down and I'll take your 2 checks. And that's the way it happened. I did the job on Monday with a guy that I know and have known since he was a young kid. And he's my oldest granddaughter's age. I've known him since then. And he's married. He's got a great family. They live in Grapevine. And he still has not, he's waiting on it to come back from mortgage. And so if you vet your customers and if you work with good customers and all, and there are situations out there in every situation where things happen or something happens, but in most cases, if you do your job right and you vetted your homeowners and you use good, reputable people and people are using you, you should be able to come to an agreement financially and work it out without the need to do anything else.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're saying is that there's plenty of room.
Did I go off the rails?
No,
too much?
you it's a hot topic. I mean, there's room at every level for everyone to do better. I mean, there's room for the insurance agents to do better by communicating the policies better. There's room for the insurance companies to do better. I mean, they're making record profits, right? And homeowners are getting hit with record out-of-pocket costs.
Yep.
There's room for the manufacturers to do better.
Yes.
There's room for the supply houses to do better.
Exactly.
There's room for the contractors to do better. Lord knows there's room for the homeowners to do better and the consumers to do better.
Yes.
I mean, we got room for better on every side. I just don't know that, passing laws and, where somebody becomes the sheriff over the contractors is going to solve all these problems.
It's not.
Look
at
who
Florida.
are these angels that are going to save us from people being people and taking advantage of people? I think in the end, you have an obligation to make sure that you're getting the best roof with the best policy, with the best insurance agent, at the best cost that's right for you. And everybody else can just stay out of it.
Yep, I agree.
If you're stupid enough, you're stupid enough to get taken advantage of, then you deserve what you get.
I agree. I could tell you right now, and I've told different ones. The different organizations. You could solve it really quickly. You could make a standard for number of hits per side. You could the biggest thing that I think needs to happen is the carriers. I think the first thing, carriers need to start enforcing the deductible rule. If it's a law, and I'm sure it's not just state of Texas, if there's a deductible law, then enforce it. I mean, I was in a couple other states where I didn't see it enforced either, and it's not being enforced, and that's the sad thing about it. And I have started to try to do a hybrid to where I am doing some insurance, but I'm also trying to do more retail. Mm-hmm. The retail format, and Eric has been on there. Eric's been on there. He's out in California. I don't think he'll mind me saying this. And
SoCal.
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah, he's out at the beach is where he's at.
Right, where it's too hot if it's 78 degrees. He just wants it 72 and sunny.
But, he does a lot of retail. And there's a lot of other people. I think the guy that Zach that was here.
Yeah, Zach Cooper.
Week,
shout out to Zach Cooper in the Cleveland market.
He does mainly retail himself. And
right.
I think retail.
And he hates insurance. He hates dealing with insurance.
Exactly. And a number of our, a dear friend of ours who's right here in Texas is going more to retail, Chuck Allen.
Yeah.
And
the great Chuck Allen. Chuck Allen, how you doing, man? The podcast king. Can we give a shout out to Rio Blanco?
Rio Blanco.
Yeah, man. Rio Blanco. Chuck Allen he's greatness.
Yeah.
One of the best dudes out there. All right, so let's move off this topic because I think that we could go way down this rabbit hole. One of the things that we want to do, Rodney, is want to give you a chance to express your faith.
Yeah.
Give you a chance to talk about your family, the things that are most important to you, so people can get to know you. Anything on your heart today?
So, it was one of the things that I've got to work on, and I'm trying to work on this a little bit better. I was first hit with this, I guess, about 2 years ago. I've read the Bible so many times, and I was looking at it again in the book of Exodus, and this is where Moses had taken the Israelites. Now, understand, Exodus was written in 1400 BC.
Okay.
So civilizations were still, this is a little bit of the history part. And I don't care if you're a believer or not. This is kind of cool and interesting.
I like
to
history.
me.
Let's go.
So Exodus was written in 1400 BC. Most historians will tell you that between the years of 3000 BC and 1000 BC is when civilizations started coming together, Mesopotamia, and I'm probably not saying that correctly, but I am a tarot light, and so forgive me there.
Shout out Terrell.
Yeah.
Terrell.
That's why my roofing company is named Tiger Roofing. Love the Tigers, and it's time to go football season. We're almost getting there. But I digress. So let me come back. So as civilizations were coming and they were moving from the hunter-gatherer into more civilizations, Egypt had about 2.5 to 4 million at the time of the Exodus.
Okay.
That was 2.5 to 4 million people. It is assumed that in the Exodus, 600,000 men were led out, which means there was at least that many women and children. So it's probably about 1.5 million or more that led out.
Of the 6 million, 1.5 million
Yes.
left.
So in that process, Moses had got them across it's where I'm going to pick it up. Jethro comes in, his father-in-law. This is in Exodus 18, if you want to do it.
Moses' daddy.
And I'm really...
Daddy-in-law.
Yeah, father-in-law. It's
Okay.
his wife's father. And he's coming in.
Do you think Moses' wife was hot?
I believe so.
I think she was too.
If it's, our view of Moses is Charlton Heston. And
Right.
I think he was supposed to be the good-looking guy in his day. So,
Yeah. I mean,
I
I think that Moses was like this really buff, strong dude.
Yeah.
And
he's raised in the Egyptian
Right.
leadership.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. A sidetrack there.
There you go. So Jethro comes in, greets them, and of course they do the Israelite kiss and Moses bows down to him because it's his father-in-law and he's honoring him. Another key Old Testament passage where before, and if you go to Ephesians, it talks about honoring your father and mother. He was honoring his father-in-law. The next day, Moses goes out and starts hearing disputes. And he starts in the morning, goes all the way into the night.
Yeah.
And Jethro looks at him and he goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I'm hearing the disputes." He goes, "Dude, you have like 600,000 people here."
So he was acting like a judge.
Yeah. He's
And then
judging
people were
their
coming before
disputes
him
if they were having
okay.
disputes. You got 600,000 people trying to move over to what would be present day Israel.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be hard to not have disputes. Your tent's over too far in my area and all this, whatever. I mean, it doesn't really go into detail what the disputes were about, but it brings up a key business point.
Okay.
Brings up a key business point.
I'm interested.
In the book of Exodus. We've already seen maybe in Joseph, back in Genesis, how he organized and kept people from famishing and starving when he interpreted the Pharaoh's dreams and organized the 7 years of good and then the 7 years of famine. Well, now we're fixing to see how you delegate.
Okay.
And that's something I struggle with, and I'm sure most roofing owners and
So
just most
you
business
pulled some
owners.
delegation lessons from this story.
Exactly.
Let's hear it.
And so the delegation becomes, he's like, "Look, dude, you're going to wear yourself out if you listen to 600,000 people on a daily basis
Yeah.
air their complaints to
Right.
you.
Okay.
And you're going from morning to evening. You have no time. You're not sharing this. And it's a great point for business owners, myself included, and I'm the first that needs to hear this, but it's a great business point about delegation.
Okay.
And Jethro told him, he said, you need to, first of all, teach the people the decrees and the laws instead of just interpreting or giving them as they come up with a dispute. Teach them the laws and the decrees. And the second thing he told Moses, he said, you need to seek out and find capable men that, one, you trust and they trust you, and two, fear God, and let them make decisions on the smaller, break it up into 50s, 100, 1,000s, which basically is the United States judicial system now.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting this from any kind of commentary. I'm just reading it out of Exodus 18, and he talks about how you need to break it down into several different groups, let them make decisions on the smaller situation, and you make decisions on the bigger decisions.
All right, I can see that. Hey, let's do this. Let's draw the parallel for the roofing contractor.
Yeah.
You know, you're a roofing contractor. You're doing $1 million, $3 million, maybe 5 or 10 even.
Yeah.
Take the lessons that you picked out of Exodus there with Moses and draw the parallel for the roofing contract. What do they need to do? Based on that, based on your interpretation.
As an owner,
yeah.
I should be delegating more. I struggle with this. Because
delegating what?
Passing on some leads, unless they're, the two this week I had to take.
Right.
But there could be another one that comes in today that maybe I need to shift it over to Reese or Lee. Or maybe I've got one that I'm working on. She doesn't know yet, but I've got one that I'm letting her do her thing right now, and she's doing extremely well.
Good.
And I think she may sell some roofs when it gets to September.
All right, let's go.
She has a Lawson as the last name too. Now it's not by natural, but it is. Yes.
Wow. Cool. Well, that's good delegation.
She's selling right now. She's making deals right and left. I think right now she's actually meeting someone right now. I don't know if she's watching this, but
okay. So delegation.
Yeah.
Number one. Draw the next parallel from your next point.
So I think the next parallel. So the pros to delegation is it strengthens your team. Mm-hmm. It obviously allows people to share, and it empowers others. The cons to delegation is they don't do it right, and you go back to doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
You don't like it the way it was done because it wasn't done to the percentage that you would like it done, or they just screw it up. And so then it comes back on your team and on your company. And so you had to find a balance, I think.
That leads us, though, into your second point. The second point was teach them the precepts.
Yes.
Teach them the principles. Mm-hmm. And help us draw those parallels for that second point.
So it'd be a little bit more, expand on it.
So if you're going to take that application of teaching precepts and principles and apply it to a roofing contractor, what does that look like in real life?
So it's just teaching them how to identify hell, teaching them how to get in front of people and make a presentation, close the deal. And it teaches them, that's where you would be teaching. The other thing I think, like with Tiger Roofing, where we have to work on, I have experience in it because I sold cars, is the financing element. Mm-hmm. There are people that are killing it with financing. I think Chuck is one of them. He's been watching this, it looks like. But I think some people still struggle with that financing effort. And I think one of the reasons we struggle with it is because in our mindset, we think, they can't do the $300 a month, or, I can't do it, so they can't do it. We put our limitations on others that we have no knowledge about.
Right.
And we shouldn't. It'd be like me saying, Mike and Shelley can't do the $400 a month, so I'm not even going to offer it to them. Instead, I need to take a step back, offer it to you and Shelley, let y'all make that decision. It's not for me to make that decision.
Yeah. So, one of the things I've been doing lately is a lot of the contractors I'm working with, they're having me go through a program where it's transitioning from focusing on insurance sales to transitioning over to retail sales. And there's several steps along the way, and there's a different mindset. Like if you're going to New York City, your planning is going to be different than if you're going to Los Angeles, California. You need to take a different direction, take a different tact. And I think the same thing needs to happen with with a roofing sale. If the roofing sale is going towards insurance, you need to take a different tact from the get-go, from the beginning, before the thing even gets off the ground. But if it's going towards retail, you need to start it differently. And the way that insurance-minded salespeople are working right now, they're using retail as an afterthought. Like we also take insurance, and we take financing, and we have a really great program for financing. Like it's too late in the game if you're bringing it up at the end of the sale. You need to bring it up at the beginning of the sale, if that's the direction that you're going to head. Anyway, okay. So your third point that you pulled out of
Can
Exodus.
I respond to that real quick?
Sure, it's your show.
No, it's our show, but we're scared. In Texas, we're scared. I really believe that. I'm saying that firsthand in some respects.
Scared.
To go out and offer it in a retail format.
Yeah.
And the reason we're scared, for a variety of reasons. One is we're scared because we can't let go. I said this before, I think. We parent, and I used to be a coach, and we tend to coach like we were coached. We tend to parent like we were parented. And the problem in Texas is we became so dependent on the insurance. And then people about 15, 20 years ago, and this is where the contractors did make a mistake. So if the carriers were listening earlier and felt like we were bashing them, now I'm going to turn the tables on the contractors, is we asked for porta potties at the job site when we were never going to use a porta potty.
Okay.
We asked for...
Why use it when you can use the backyard, right?
Yeah, well, there you go. And we asked for O&P on everything in the book, when half the time we were just using the O&P to cover their deductible. Let's be honest about it.
Oh, right.
I mean, let's be honest about it. Or we were throwing out these crazy upgrades that people weren't going to get or need, and so we were just saying we're going to take all the money. And had I gone retail, the minute I went out on my own and said, this is my price, it's going to include this, this, and this, and it's going to do this job for you, the percentages would have been higher. Right. I've talked to people all day long that make higher percentages by just going retail, because the percentages would have been higher. It would have cost this, but also the homeowners became fixated on it. Is that, well, you're going to cover my deductible, and so now everybody's in a cultural shock, and people are having to come up with. I go back to that one that I was talking about earlier, where she didn't know until the adjuster told her she's going to have to come up with $13,000. Yeah, they're semi-retired,
right? And
$13,000 is a lot of money, and it's a lot of money to me.
That'll buy a lot of tacos.
And yeah, it will. We're going to be in a situation if we don't figure out a way to do this, and that's why we were talking about the financing. And I'm just going to slip this in. I saw the comment, Eric. That's one part that I haven't even heard much about either, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to go back and study that. I'm going to go back and look that up. So I will go back and get this comment. I think I'm looking at it. I think it says the Ubadians. So I will go back and look at that. I promise you that. And I'm going to send you a text. So,
all right, we're rounding third, headed for home
sure,
because we've got a minute or two.
Have I left anything out?
Yeah. Your third point from your Bible study from Exodus, and I want you to draw that parallel. The third one was to divide it up into districts and have the districts govern themselves.
Yes.
Is there a parallel for roofing contractors? Maybe not at $1 million of revenue or $3 million of revenue, but what would be the parallel for roofing contractors there?
I'm assuming you're trying to lead me to maybe building out branches.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about that.
So that's just my first thought. Is
right.
that am I on the right? Did I come pretty close?
Well, it's your Bible study, so you draw the parallels.
So, yeah, I think that a person could, and I think you have a partner that has done that and done it successfully, a couple of them. I think that would be a possibility, is that if you could hone in your area and then draw it out. You know, I'm kind of the guy that still is intrigued by traveling abroad. I like doing that. I tried it back in November, and it went pretty well. I don't know if he and his wife are watching this or catching part of this. They're a lovely couple, and I enjoyed helping them. And I would do it again in the right situation. I think I would make some changes on my end that would give me a little bit more strategically positioned to do some different things. But I think overall, for the first time I ever did this because the last time I did it, I was not an owner. I was just a salesman, and I was working in Minnesota. Then I went to Louisiana, and then ended up in Austin. And then I came back and got back into teaching and coaching for about 3 years. And then I went back out on my own totally, and we built it just in the Kaufman area. But I think that you could do one of two things. I think you could build branches, or I think you could have a good, solid local branch, and then also take some people abroad as well and work abroad. The aspects of working abroad, you know, and I'll just use Asheville for a second. When I was working at
Asheville,
North Carolina, when I was helping the McClungs, I don't think they'll mind me mentioning them.
John and Carrie McClung.
Yes,
okay.
Wonderful people. When I was helping them from November to the end of January, it was devastating. It was really devastating. But part of being abroad also allowed me to work on. When I was coming back, I was going to open it. I had already told Kathy, I was like, look, I want to do a couples Bible study, which we are doing every other Saturday. And it allowed me to work on some things spiritually that I needed to work on in my life. And I still do, and I'm still working on them. But also working abroad, I was able to get away on the weekends and go explore. There's a really cool area around Cherokee, which is a little bit east of Asheville. I went in and saw a good friend of mine up in Charlotte one weekend because the Washington Commanders were playing in the NFC Championship, and I went up and saw Sarah and Corey Finger. Sarah, I mentioned you first because you are the one that you are the straw that stirs the drink.
Okay.
And Corey, you know I'm messing with you. And shout out because he just had a birthday too. The boy's getting older.
He is.
And but they're great people as well. And I got to go out to some different areas. I went down, just explored around North Carolina. There's wonderful people in North Carolina.
So it gives you an opportunity to spread your wings and see more.
And I think so. You're right that you can break it up into divisions, and there's two ways you can go. You can open up branches, like within 30, 45 minutes, so that you can also monopolize. I don't know. I know they keep changing the algorithms, but you can monopolize the Googles and become more effective, even as a bigger company. But I think you can also go abroad some. And I think you can go into some areas.
I love how you say abroad. Like, you know, any place outside of Texas is
Yes.
abroad because Texas is Texas.
It's its
All right,
own
we
country.
got to turn this thing off.
It's its own country.
Texas is its own country. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. We appreciate you joining us for Tiger Talks with Rodney Lawson. Rodney Lawson is based out of Kaufman, Texas. If you need help with your roof or you just want to say hi, leave him a comment, shoot him a message. Rodney would be happy to come out and take a look at your roof. This is Tiger Talks today. Rodney, last word.
Your button's missing.
Oh, man.
I did it for Shelly. I mean,
Make it a great day. Bye.
bye.